Jazzcast Pros.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fearless Fridays with Marianne. We are still in the trenches of celebrating Women's History Month, and I just want to take this opportunity to just thank one of the most amazing humans that I had the pleasure of knowing when I was a teenager. And I wish to this day that I could see her, that I could meet with her, that I can show her, and that she can see firsthand the impact that she had in my life, the difference that she made in my life. Oftentimes, when we are individuals that have faced adversities, when we have faced traumas in our lives, we don't have individuals that we can turn to. Sometimes we don't have role models. We don't have people that we can trust, that we can talk to, that we can confide in. And as I've shared in the past, I was a victim of sexual abuse when I was little. I was a teenager that was in the juvenile delinquent system, and I haven't spoken too much about a lot of the events and things that happened when I was a teenager, and I will probably be sharing more of that later on. But I remember when I was 16, on my 16th birthday, it was a Wednesday, November 15th, 1989. I remember walking into my high school homeroom class, and I made a decision that day that changed the trajectory of my life in some way, shape, or form. I am sure of that. I decided to drop out of high school, and I was actually in custody of New York State detention system, juvenile delinquent system, about a year and a half prior to that. And one of the conditions of me being home was that I had to be in school. It took my parents about 2 weeks or so to find out that I was not in school, only because whenever the school called to say that I was not in school, I would act like I was my mom and I would make up some excuse. I don't know why to this day, and I will never find out why made them call my mother at work. And that's how I got caught, that I was not in school. So I got violated for one of the conditions, again, because I had to be in school. So I was put in a detention center. And one of the things about the detention centers is that I was often running away from them. So the judge has seen my face one too many times in that courtroom, and he knew what my game was. And they sent me away 3.5 hours. And let me tell you, that was heartbreaking because, number one, my mother only came to see me one time. And it was then and there. I want to say by this time I was already 17. I was already 17 years old. So it wasn't right away. Like I was put in one home, ran away, turned myself back in, got placed in a different home, ran away again, was gone for like 2-3 months at a time. And then the last time I got sent away, 3.5 hours away. My mother only came to see me once. And she basically said that was the one and only time she was coming to see me, and I needed to get my together because she was not going to be making that drive because she actually drove. And as I had mentioned earlier, I dropped out of high school when I was 16 years old. I knew for a fact that I did not want to return to the city school district because I knew that I was not going to be successful. I dropped out for a reason. So I decided that I wanted to study and get my GED, my general equivalency diploma. And my worker, who I say she was my probation officer, but she wasn't really a probation officer because I wasn't on probation. She was like my juvenile delinquent worker, case manager. Her name is Anita Nunley. And I remember her talking to me as a child, the child that I was, but as an adult. I'm not sure if that makes sense. She came to me at my level because I was still a kid, 17 years old, even though I thought I knew everything. But she spoke to me as an adult, and I will never forget till this day. Mind you, this was when I was 17 years old, and I am 51 years old today. She said to me, Marianne, I don't know what it is that you want out of life, but you need to get yourself together. if you keep down the path that you are currently on, you are going to end up in prison for the rest of your life, or you are going to end up dead. Listen, she spoke to me in that mild voice that I just said that in, but it was something about the way that her words landed. She spoke to me in such a caring way, but real way. She wasn't accusatory. She wasn't demeaning. She was basically telling me the truth. If I did not change my ways, I was going to end up in one of those two situations, dead or in prison for the rest of my life. So I definitely knew I did not want to return to city school district. I studied very hard and I got my GED, and I got the results the day before I was to be released. And let me tell you, your girl almost got extended because I was acting a fool. I was super excited and I got yelled at. They told me to cut it down, cut it off, chill, because I was being very disruptive. At that moment, honestly, I did not care. I was just super excited that I passed this GED. And back then, you had to have a minimum of 225 to get your GED. And that's exactly what I got, 225. So sweet baby Jesus was with me taking that test. Fast forward, I get released. I got pregnant. I realized that I needed to do something more with my life. Something had to change in my life. Having a GED just was not enough. I ended up enrolling in REOC, which is Rochester Educational Opportunity Center. Back then it was only EOC. They added the R recently. I say recently, but I'm not really sure how long ago it was. Anyways, I graduated. The only person that came to my graduation, you guessed it, Miss Anita Nunley. She was the only one that came to my graduation, and her support, her being there for me, being there with me meant the world. I didn't realize that then, but I realize that now. And I have searched everywhere. I have searched all social medias and I cannot find Miss Anita Nunley. I remember that her office was located on South Union, which is like there's a building like right at, as soon as you turn on South Union from Monroe Avenue, there was like a juvenile detention office there. And I remember her office being there. I remember having to check in when I got released. I had to go in and check in and, give updates and things like that. I have not been able to locate her. She's probably, unfortunately, passed away because I do remember that she was a lot older than me. But then again, as a 17-year-old, a 30-year-old looked old. So who really knows how old she was? But I do remember that she was a more broader, bigger African-American woman, had lighter skin, and she had short, curly-ish, like curls, coils. And I just really wish that she can see me now, that she can see that little badass teenager that was very adventurous, did not care about anything, just having fun in the moment, how I've turned out. That the high school dropout, got her a certificate, went to community college, ended up going to undergraduate, ended up going to graduate school, ended up getting a honorary doctorate degree. So I don't know if she will ever hear this. She will probably never hear this, but I just want to publicly acknowledge Miss Anita Nunley, and I want to thank her because your words spoke to me. They landed how you intended them to land, and they literally changed the trajectory of my life. And I want to thank you for that. So if you're listening to this today and there is someone in your life that has impacted your life in a positive way, that their words, their advice, their guidance, the way that they show up, it could be somebody that you either personally know or somebody that you may follow on social media or somebody's podcast that you might tune into and listen to. I want you to take a moment and I want you to thank that person. I want you to acknowledge that person. Send them a DM, send them an email, go to their website, find out who they are, how to connect with them and let them know, because oftentimes we go through life wishing and wondering, if people know that they have impacted our lives. And sometimes, even influencers, coaches, teachers, doctors, whoever, hearing that their work, hearing that their words, that their advice, that their guidance has positively influenced you, have changed your life, makes a big difference, because that doesn't happen often. Sometimes people are doing things, sometimes for example, I'm doing this podcast and I'm hoping that I'm changing someone's life by just being a little braver, being a little bolder, and speaking about things that I have experienced, by bringing on guests that have been through obstacles, that have faced adversities, and that they have done the work. And sometimes we wonder, is anybody listening? Does anybody care? So just making sure that, you take that moment and just say thank you and acknowledge those individuals. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to publicly thank Miss Anita Nunley for your words, for being there for me, for being a guidance, for being a guiding light, for being my North Star when I needed you the most. And I did not realize that then. So please take a moment and thank that special person, especially if they are a woman, because we are in Women's History Month. But whoever it is, male, female, however they identify, just thank them. Show appreciation, because the world needs more kindness, especially in these dark days. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please leave us a 5-star review and share with a friend or two. If you aren't already following us on social media, please connect with me on LinkedIn at Marianne Rivera Dannert, or visit our website, mariannerivera.com. I will catch you next week with a brand new episode, and remember that you are a priority and you matter.